and now you have let them become you're hosting them in your body, so you can let go of those things. That is detoxing yourself of certain. So for example, if you've been eating non-veg all your life, and like me, and at the age of 24 like me you decide to become a vegetarian, well, that's gonna be hard. Almost 25 years you've been eating non-veg. You're not going to look just as healthy as you were when you were the healthiest. I do not look the healthiest when I was the healthiest in my life, because I've quit non-veg. So that's a huge loss, because I built my body on that. So, but luckily I've quit still at a very young age. People who become spiritual at an older age, after 50, quitting that is not that easy. I have examples of a certain uncle who told me, like, when he found out that I was quitting non-vegetarian food, he told me about his experience, that he chose to do the same, which I already knew, but he repeated it for me. He had a deficiency of B12, and he became unhealthy. Well, of course, if you quit at that age, you are going to have the repercussions, because you built your whole body, your whole life, you've been eating that. You cannot quit that easily. Okay, so I'm glad I did it on my own at an age where I actually started to make decisions of, okay, now I can think for myself. Because to be honest, this video might just be, I'll post it in parts. The first part will be the virginity talk, second part being the my experience of becoming a vegetarian. So basically, the first time, I still remember, my memory is very good. I remember the first time that I had non-veg food. I was about 3, 4, 5 years old, and we were living in the same place but in a shorter house. One evening, I came up after not evening, sorry, one afternoon, I came up from playing downstairs, and just coming up, the whole vibe was different in the house. I knew something was wrong. My dad had to come home, and I think he had a half day or something, and the whole smell and everything was bad. So I realized later on that my mother has cooked mutton. That was the first non-veg I think that I had. If I'm not wrong, that was the first time I ate non-veg food. So, and they served it to me, and I was about to have it, and I was like, I had no knowledge of we eat animals or whatever. Most people who start eating non-veg, even now, I think most people who eat non-veg don't know that they are actually animals that they are eating. People are very dumb. But anyways, so I knew something was wrong. Maybe I'm just naturally spiritual, I don't know. I might be, I can easily be bragging. I'm like that. I'm a Leo ascendant, okay? I love to brag. But yeah, I felt it the moment I came home. And I just came home because they called me, but I was like, I'm just gonna drink water and come back, which was my own illusion, because the sun was on top of the heads. All the other kids were going. I knew we were not going to come back, not until evening, to play again. But I'd come home, and I was like, okay, we'll eat. Of course, I wasn't like that. I don't remember that exactly, but I'm that kind of a person. Like, if I want to play, I want to keep playing. Even if, like, the other people, they have clutches, they have a break. I'm not like that. I'm an extreme person. I'm not saying I'm an adrenaline junkie, but my Scorpio placements are very strong. I'm very extreme. Once I'm into something, I do it until I cannot do it anymore. I'm like that. Anything, and I've been like that since I was a child. So I don't even care if other people have the stamina. I'll be like, let's go, and that might seem like a lot of Aries or Martian energy, but that's actually my Scorpio energy. So I was thinking that maybe we'll play more. Anyways, that whole thing is a different topic. Coming back to our non-veg transformation. I was served, and I was like, no, I know this is something evil. And I'm not saying I was naturally like that. I grew up on Indian mythological stories, and I wasn't like, my family background isn't that spiritual, but the only grandparent I had was my dad's uh, maternal aunt. She was a little person, a midget. She only had one eye, and she was very spiritual, um, religious spiritual, but she wasn't religious. She was very spiritual, and but she had what we call amal. So she wouldn't eat, but she would sometimes cook for us. She would cook non-veg for us, but sometimes she would go out too. So she was that kind of a person. So that was the environment I grew up in. My mom had always been telling me all the Indian mythological stories that I learned from my mom first. So I'm very thankful for all that. But in practice, my parents aren't like that. So they they eat non-veg. They wanted me to eat it, and I was like, no. But if you know me personally, if you know my dad, he just like, eat it. So I was like, okay, and what can I do? But I right at that moment, I'm a individual thinker, not just with my Scorpio placements or whatever, but also being a Rahu ascendant and a Leo ascendant. I'm an out of box but an individual thinker. And if I mean, you think Rahu ascendant, this dude would love to eat meat, and I eventually ended up liking it because Rahu is consumption and Leo is the stomach. So I mean, if you know me, I love to eat. I love to eat, but I even that I do to an extreme until this explodes literally. So yeah, I really have to be aware and conscious about all those things, about my eating habits and everything. So but back then I was like, no, I do not want to, I don't, whatever this is, I do not want to eat it. But then my dad said, I ate it a couple of times, started liking it, and that was the story. Later on, when I become 21, that's when I was like, okay, now I'm an adult, actually an adult 21. I can make decisions for myself now. I can do whatever. If I want to have sex with women, have a girlfriend, I can do that. If I want to go out drinking, I can do that. Even though technically I'm not a man on myself, because I'm not I'm not earning yet, but I have earned it. I've already worked at my first job. So everything with that, I was like, okay, I can make the right decisions. And I mean, of course, I'm still answerable, but if you're doing the right things, you do not have to be answerable to people. So for example, if I'm quitting non-veg, I do not have to be answerable to anyone, and I can do it because nobody will tell me that don't do it, because that's actually a good thing to do. I'm not doing drugs, and that is not the type of change I was making in my life. I was making a good change. But so I started that, having that mentality, developing that around the age of 21. But I didn't actually quit it right away. I started making little changes in my life. But I was more into gymming and like living a very fit type of life. So I would eat a lot of eggs. I would eat a lot of chicken. I would love seafood. I would just eat fish raw. Like, I loved fish. So yeah, overall, I didn't want to quit still, because I still had that in my system, and it keeps asking for more. But that belief that was in me was so strong that around the age of 23, my body stopped digesting non-veg. So I'm not proud of the fact that I consciously quit non-veg, because I didn't. I wanted to, and I started making those changes little by little as I started seeing. Around that age, that was the age when I was dating around a little bit, and I started seeing beautiful women, vegetarians, and I was like, and healthy. And I was like, one day if I do want to get married to a woman like her, we might have to compromise. I mean, I love being the bad boy, I love being the meat eater while she's the vegetarian or whatever. But I would be like, me being Rahu ascendant. Rahu is a planet that copies any other planet that it sits with, and I'm literally a copy guy. I'm literally like Kakashi Hata. I'm the copy ninja. So I mean, I don't being a Leo ascendant, I'm very prideful. I like to be real. I like to be original. But that Rahu energy is very copy-like. So I was like, I can do anything I put my mind to. So all I have to do is seduce myself into it. That didn't work, of course, at the beginning, but certain changes in philosophies and opinions were made. And then, like I said, my system failed and I stopped digesting not just non-veg food but oily food. All those things I stopped eating. Now I don't eat most of that. I don't eat non-veg at all. I'm almost a vegan, but technically I'm more like plant-based, but not even that, because I eat honey. Not much nowadays, but I do eat honey. Milk I only consume certain times, but recently I have had a lot, not a lot, but I don't drink milk directly. I do not eat paneer unless I cannot avoid it, unless someone just assumed that me being a vegetarian, they give me a paneer sandwich or whatever, and they had already ordered, then I'll be like, okay. Or there was no other option, then I'll be like, okay. Otherwise, I don't eat anything milk. Not because I'm like vegan or like, to be honest, I'm not really a very sattvic person. Like, I'm not like lovey-dovey. I'm not huggish type of a person. I'm very closed off. And being a Rahu ascendant makes me a Ketu descendant. In the 7th house, it's Ketu detachment. I'm very detached to other people. I'm not the type of person that would be like hugging his friends or everything. That like bodily, that intimate zone is only for my loved one or little kids sometimes. Like, you will have never ever seen me with a cat on my lap or petting a dog. Like, very rarely that happens. I'm that kind of person. I'm not with anyone, or with animals I'm not that. But at the same time, I'm not like I would like to harm anyone. I'm just love from a distance type of a guy. So with veganism, I'm not actually a vegan. Like, I'm not using leather belts anymore, because that harms animals. I'm not wearing any animal product. I'm not like that. Okay, with milk, like, milk is a sensitive thing for me, being a Hindu, because it harms cows. And that's like, if you know the amount of evil that is done to cows just for the production of milk, you would never have milk. But a little bit is okay, but still it's a controversial thing. And I do not drink milk anymore. Sometimes, I mean, being an Indian, or just being in India and going to, not always, but going to temples or having any kind of celebration occasion in your home or ritual, you have all the prasad and you have to eat sweet. You have to eat, even though I do not eat refined sugar much. I try to avoid it. I do not eat milk either, but milk is in most sweets and confectionery, so you have to eat. And if it's prasad, then I will eat it. But otherwise, I don't. And sometimes I'm just like so much in the zone of like being spiritual, or I'll be like, I'll eat whatever people offer. Like, I don't think of when my next meal is going to come out. I'll just eat. Whenever a person looks at me and they're like, hey, you look like you're hungry, have this, have. And I naturally get that a lot when I'm out. People do that a lot to me, just eat this, eat that. So very recently, and this I shouldn't share, because if this is the natural process, and I'm sharing it, then it is bad for the process. But I will be vague, so maybe that will help. So very recently, I was out on my job, and I'm going to be very vague though. And I was carrying a tiffin, and my metabolism is very fast, so I had a certain sweet, healthy in my tiffin, and I would eat one bite every time. I would feel like my stomach is about to burn my body if I don't feed it something. So because I was trying to not eat much, but um, I I ate the last bite, and I knew that it's over now, and I would actually have to stop working and sit down somewhere and go eat and have an actual lunch. Or it was almost dinner time, so I could have had dinner too, but I didn't, and I kept working and working, and I was outside, and um, I knew I had had the last bite, so there was nothing in my tiffin. And then I became hungry again, and then I just prayed to God, because this was hunger I had never experienced before. It was like burning like crazy in my stomach, and I was like, I know there's nothing in this tiffin, but I'm about to open, I'm going to check it once more. And I prayed to a certain God, not thinking much about, oh, this God will help me or whatever. Just naturally came out in my mind, and I prayed to this God, like, please let there be one last bite. I know I had the last bite, so it would be a miracle, and I know it's not gonna happen, but please let there be. And I opened, and of course there wasn't anything in there. And then about half an hour later, I met a person while I was working, and the person was like, sorry I made you wait. I was at a temple, because today is Ganesh Chaturthi, and that was the Ganpati Bappa was who I prayed to give me one last bite from my tiffin. And then he was like, sorry, I was in the temple, so I made you wait. Here's a modak. And I was like, whoa, Ganpati Bappa really heard what I was saying. So yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, I always feel like I should not have shared that experience, because it was very real. Like I really wished for something to eat. It's just like one bite, and I was like, ah. But he was a little bit late. I had already ate by then. But yes, I was like, great. I can't believe this actually happened. And it might be a just like coincidence, but that is no coincidence, because I, like, when I'm working, I'm not aware of, like, I was still aware of the fact that I actually thought it was 2 days after a Purnima, after the full moon. So I thought it was a Dvitiya, not Chaturthi. Chaturthi is the fourth day after a new moon or a full moon. So I had no idea it was a Chaturthi, yet alone Ganesh Chaturthi. Nor did I have any reason to call out to Lord Ganesha that he would feed me. I just like, Ganpati Bappa, please let there be one last bite. And the stranger just comes up while I'm working, and he's like, sorry I made you wait. Here's a prasad modak. And I was like, wow. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So when certain things like that happen, then I cannot say, oh, the modak is oily, oh, the peda has milk in it. Then I have to eat. So yeah, that's how I eat milk or oily food sometimes, but I don't do that too much, only in form of prasad or anything like that. So I'm sorry, this is a very long video. I've talked a lot, but I had a lot of, and I still have a lot in me that I still haven't shared. there's a lot more than the videos that I promised, and a lot of them are going to be coming out very soon, because I'll be very consistent now, because this is all that I have right now, technically, not in the sense of work, but on my mind. This is all that I want to do, is talk and just say everything that I've kept inside, that I have in the form of content, that is in here, which is in the mental. I want it to be digital, so you people can see it for your own, whatever you see it for, just to check me out, what I'm doing, or whether you want to know or learn, you can check it out, because I'm going to be posting way more consistently starting now. So yeah, thank you for watching, and see you next time.